Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
No, come on, man.
Oh, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
Bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
Name one.
I'll be back.
Freedom, you're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family you live. Never.
I just can't believe you came here and did it again. You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Duel of the Greats. Season 4, folks. We are on 7 now. We got a good one for you. This week, we're doing Shrek versus Shrek 2. All-star movies. You know, if you're a real Shrek fan, you know get the deep cut on that one. Steve?
Don't you're already encroaching on some of my arguments. Don't be talking about needle drops.
Okay.
In your
I'm
intro.
sorry.
Don't even do it.
I overstepped.
Don't even do it.
Overstepped.
Yep. Don't overstep. Judge, respectfully. Don't overstep.
Okay. I object. Can you object to the judge? I don't even know if that's a thing. So we got Nate.
It's the last thing you ever do, but you can.
Yeah, if you no longer want to practice, you can do that. Nate will be taking Shrek, and Steve will be taking Shrek 2. So this will be a fun one, folks. But before we get into that, reminder to please follow us on the socials. We are at Duel of the Greats on everything except for TikTok, where we are at podcast. I myself, if you want to follow me, I am at the Jeff Report, all one word, on and Jeff spelled the normal way, Jeff. None of this G off business. But that is on Instagram and Blue Sky, where I do most of my posting about things. Nate, you wanna hit up with yours in case they want to follow you?
I am Skate Carter everywhere, but primarily TikTok, which is where most people know me from, Instagram, and Threads. Anywhere you would want to find me, I am Skate Carter.
Steve, you want to throw yours in there?
No, I do not.
Cool. All right. Well, we will we'll drop in there. You guys, Steve doesn't want you. He doesn't want you to follow him. He doesn't want any of that business.
I don't.
And also,
I don't
you
post
can.
anything. I'm the silent watcher.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I always lurk.
And also, if you would like to email us, then please do so at duelofthegreats@gmail.com, where if we get your email, then we'll read it on the air, and we'll likely, if you have some sort of suggestion. Sometimes we've had suggestions in the past where we've done special episodes just for.
We got an email this week with a suggestion for a special episode.
That's
Thank
true,
you, listener Nicholas.
That's right, Nicholas. We're pulling some ideas around, so we'll let you know as we.
Shout out to Nicholas, who was genuinely concerned that he hadn't heard from us, even though we've been releasing pretty steadily every week. I think he craves it. So Nicholas, if you're out there, we got your email, buddy. We're still recording. We love you. We love the support. Tell your friends.
That's right. So we appreciate the genuine concern. It's good to have some people out there that are genuine fans like that. So thank you. And now I think we'll be ready to get into it. Like I said, Nate has the original, the OG Shrek, and Steve has Shrek 2. This is, when Shrek 2 came out, Shrek was a sort of weird little happenstance thing that just kind of blew up. I don't know if they were really expecting it to. DreamWorks wasn't really the studio that it is now in terms of animation, and it had some trouble production. Trouble might be a bit of not the exact right word, but Chris Farley was supposed to voice Shrek. He actually did I think he did the entire. I've actually seen videos online where they did like test screenings and stuff, or not test screenings, but like test runs where they had Chris Farley's dialogue and they had just like sort of keyframe animation, so not any of the animation or anything, but just kind of hand drawn storyboard type stuff, and they put his voice over it. It was interesting. had it worked out, we never would have known the difference. So I don't know how much of an impact it would have had versus Mike Myers' voice, but it felt weird watching it since the Mike Myers voice is so iconic. Because Chris Farley wasn't doing any sort of accent; he was just being Chris Farley. And I'm
Well, it
curious
would
too
have
if they
been
would.
pretty strange.
Well, it's interesting because they recorded the whole thing 3 times. So first they did it with Chris Farley, almost to completion. He
Hold
had
on.
like,
You
some.
say literally the whole movie almost?
Yeah, so
Holy
in
crap.
terms of the in terms of the main voice recording, now they didn't obviously animate it 3 times, but Chris Farley did it once. Mike Myers did it 100%. He did the entire thing. And then after Mike Myers was done, he came back and said, I want to do it in a Scottish accent. So he did not initially do the voice in an accent. And he was Mike Myers, pretty big at the time, and they conceded and they added a bunch of money to production for him to go back in, and he did the entire movie again in an accent. So there's like 3 full voice recordings essentially, at least for the Shrek character, of the entire movie. So it's just kind of I don't know if we'd call that a troubled production, but yeah, it's definitely like it took a long time when they were making this.
Yeah, it was a strange, varied production, we'll call it. But that's interesting. I hadn't heard that about Mike Myers and the irregular voice. I would be kind of curious just to hear little snippets of that and see how much difference that made. Because the fact that he has the Scottish accent is just so iconic. It's such a part of the character that it's kind of weird to think of it in any other way. But yeah, but it came out and it was just a smash hit. And then they came out with the sequel a few years later, and it was, at the time, one of the most successful movie sequels ever, monetarily. And I'm not sure if Shrek 2 was out when they started doing the Best Animated Movie award at the Oscar. I can't remember.
Shrek, the original, was the first winner.
It was. Okay, there you go.
It won Best Animated Feature. It was nominated against Monsters Inc. and Jimmy Neutron. I think it was just those 3 movies. I remember this very specifically because they did a cute little thing where they had the animation studios made little animations of their characters in the audience, and so they,
I do remember
when
that
they were
now.
announcing the
Yeah.
nominees, they went to the characters and given thumbs up. And then when Shrek won, it was like yay, and they celebrated. And like Mike Wazowski and Monsters Inc. was like had like this fake smile on and was like fake clapping like he just lost. So I remember that very specifically that they threw in that little thing. So Shrek was the original winner of that award, the original movie.
Every once in a while, the Academy Awards puts on like it does one of those little special sort of added things that actually work. And that's one of those times. I remember they had one when Flubber came out. They did a little Flubber thing as well. I think that might have been nominated for like best special effects or something. But once in a while, they do something that hits. But most of the time, their jokes fall pretty stale. Anyway, so I remember, seeing. I saw both movies in theaters. So, and the first one quite enjoyed. Second one quite enjoyed. Got them both video. They're both fantastic movies, and I've just kind of shown them to my daughter. She enjoys them. Fun for the whole family. It's so many good side characters. The way that they sort of played with the fairy tale characters, they really nailed. And just all the characters in all the movies that they've added. I think the third one might be the weakest of the 4, but it's okay to say that because we're not talking about it today. Oh, but what about you guys? Did you guys see them in theaters? What were your first experiences with the Shrek films?
I saw both these movies on video. And I honestly, I don't think I've seen another one in the franchise. I know there's spin-offs. They did the Puss in Boots movie. I've
Two
never really
movies.
seen any of those, but yeah, I saw. God, it's like how many movies are in this franchise? Like it's like one of those things. It's like Minions, where there's more than you think. There's 5 or 6. Um, But I saw the first two, um, and I remember, liking them a lot. It was still kind of that era where early 2000s. I feel like in like the mid 2000s is when you started to see bad computer animated films. In those early years, they were spending so much money and there was so much attention to it that they were all just kind of bangers right out of the gate. So you had, the Toy Story movies and Bugs Life and Monsters Inc., Shrek 2. It
It
wasn't
was
really till
so,
the mid 2000s. It was still a new thing. It was
and
still
so
kind of a new
they had to
experience.
spend almost as much time. It was faster than animation, but the amount of care that they did, and then they figured out how to make it quickly, and then you started getting the over the hedge type movies.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I feel like these two movies are kind of the very tail end of that. Every computer animated film was something to see. Maybe not a masterpiece, but was something to see. And the studios hadn't gotten to a place where it was so easy that they started to slip a little bit creatively. So I remember liking them, enjoying them both. I still enjoy them both. So I mean, we'll obviously talk about that here in a little bit. But they're both, I think, really funny, clever family entertainment movies.
Yeah, they're delightful. I didn't see them until, oh, I don't know, when I was in college, I think like 2007 or something. Uh, well after the first one came out, and I guess the second one too. And yeah, they were a delightful surprise then, and they remain a delightful watch to this day. So, like you guys said, they're just plain feel good movies. It's a good thing to throw on when you're feeling kind of down. Um, there you go.
Yeah, and Nate, to your point, talk about how many movies and stuff. So they got the four Shrek movies. There's the two Puss in Boots movies. Both of the Puss in Boots movies are fantastic. They're very good. Especially the most recent one came out like 2 years ago, and it was very good. And it was in the what's it called, Steve? You told me what it's called, on the twos animation
Oh
style.
yeah, whatever I think
Whatever
they call it
the
like the
Into the
Spider-Man movies.
Spider-Verse. Yeah, that animation style, it was done, and is really good. Then there is a Puss in Boots TV show that's on Netflix. So after we showed my daughter Shrek for the first time, and then the Shrek 2, when the Puss in Boots character gets introduced, then we find this show on Netflix. We're like, oh, you can watch the Puss in Boots TV show. Um, 7 seasons of this show. You simply do not understand the depth of lore that they get into in the Shrek universe for this show. I remember one time, so my daughter would watch it, and I came in the room and she was watching it, and I would be like, this is interesting. What's going on here? And she's like, oh, well, they have to unlock the secret tomb, and they're going underneath the city of San Mateo, where there is the former city of San Mateo was on the third full moon of the 60, and all the just, oh my God, it's like, what? And it was an intense show in terms of the lore. So for any of you Shrek heads out, there's a lot of Shrek action going on. We're sticking with the first two movies here. So with that, I think we can just go ahead and get started. So Nate, you have the original Shrek, and therefore you have the floor, counselor. You may proceed with your case.
All right. My points tonight for Shrek will be, I think, pretty quick. I Not to say that I can't argue that this is a better film. I think the first one is the superior film. There's really one major point. All of them center around one point. To come up with three, I didn't struggle, but I'm really going to hit you hard probably with this last point. But I'll start with my first point. That being that I think the first Shrek has the better villain. Uh, Lord Farquaad, voiced by Jonathan Lithgow, is just hysterical. I think he is. There's something a little bit more. Obviously, Fairy Godmother in the second one, it's supposed to be a little bit of a switch and a little bit of a mystery. You don't necessarily know that she's the villain from the jump. Um, for kids' entertainment, I think that Lord Farquaad is just the fact that he's so obviously the villain the one-liners in this thing that he has, famously the one that it's used in memes still to this day is like, some of you may die, but that is a risk I'm willing to take. I just think that there's something so funny about the obviousness of his evil nature. Um, and not that I don't like the subtlety of something like Fairy Godmother in the second film, but to me, I see that as a little bit more of kind of an adult theme where you kind of have to learn a little bit more. Whereas I think that to set these movies as a very like clear hero and a clear villain, I think the first one works a lot better on that, and it's because it's not the hero's the same, but it's because of the villain. I think the villain is stronger. I think that he is funnier, and I think that the obstacles that the hero has to overcome to defeat the villain seem a little bit more reasoned within the story for a kids movie in the first film than in the second film. So that's my first point. I think again, so obviously I'm admitting that's a little subjective, but I like the villain in the first one more. I think he's a better villain.
Would you say it rings true
Steve, a
more for
retort?
the second one?
Yeah, I would say that I would say it rings more true
In
in
this
the first
animated
one
fairy tale world?
for children's entertainment to have something that is just like very obviously evil and over the top evil. I think that's funnier and makes a little bit more sense for this kind of entertainment.
Lord Farquaad is fun. He's great. I'm not gonna tear him down. I'll let you have Lord Farquaad.
So, if counselors may approach the bench, I will say that in listening to the Father of the Bride episode, I tried counting how many times Nate said the word "true," and I lost count. So you're both on notice on this one.
Just wait. um,
Anyway,
so I will say
go
this.
ahead with your second point.
Here's my second point. My second point, and I try not to. This is a rule that I've held myself to, that I've tried not to break this season.
He acts like he adheres to the rules this season.
But I'm gonna. Excuse me, Judge. Do I get to? Who has the?
It's
there
fine.
will be a time for
strike it from the record. It's fine. It's
okay.
fine.
Yeah, just strike it from the fucking record. Okay. There's gonna be a time for cross examination. It's not right now. Okay. So let me get through my points, please.
The court reporter will disregard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please tell the jury to disregard as well. Okay. All right. So, a rule that I have tried to hold myself to that I am going to break a little bit tonight is I've always tried to have like positive things about my film and not like have one of my reasons be a negative thing about the second film. I will say this though. And we even preface this, Jeff, you preface this a little bit. The first Shrek movie, my overall point is going to be that I think the second film just doesn't, in terms of a sequel, it doesn't justify, it's not good enough to justify its existence. It reminds me a lot of Father of the Bride. It really reminds me a lot of that episode, actually, because we both said, Jeff, at that time, we both love those movies. We love both of those movies, and we probably love them equally. I feel the exact same way about this series. I have no issue with Shrek 2. I love it. I think it's just as funny as the first one. It's great. But when I look at the reason that you make a sequel, you said, Jeff, you brought up this point. You're absolutely right. DreamWorks, it was all Pixar. At the time this movie came out, it was Pixar. They were the studio hitting grand slam after grand slam. DreamWorks, even though they had a lot of money and they had the big names behind it, had not really had this was kind of their first thing out of the gate. It turns out to be this massive hit. And it was unexpected. And it is very obvious that Shrek 2 exists solely because, and I'm not saying that the characters or anything, I'm not breaking our main rule. I'm saying that the movie's existence is justified by we have a hit on our hands and we need to make more money. That's the reason Shrek 2 was made. There's elements of the film that I feel that a little bit, where they repeat some of the gags. You've got a lot of the same characters, so you kind of have a lot of the same comedic elements a little bit. For me, the second one just doesn't justify its existence enough to be a sequel. And when we've looked at the really great sequels in this series, the really great ones justify their existence. There's a creative reason to make it. There's not a monetary reason to make it. And I feel like this one starts to slip a little bit more, even if we admit we love it. Same thing with Father of the Bride Part 2. The reason that they made that was because they knew that it would make money. And I think the reason they've made Shrek 2 was because they knew they had a hit on their hands and they were going to make money. I just feel like the second one doesn't justify its existence as a sequel in the way that we would expect a sequel to do that.
Well, I mean, you're entitled to be wrong, and you are here. Unlike Father of the Bride, which took a kind of a strange and untrue plot device just for the sake of making a sequel, Shrek 2 kind of it puts the shoe on the other foot. You get to see, it flips the script. You get to see what Shrek is like as a human if he has the same affliction as Fiona. It makes him go through that same character arc, some of the same thoughts and challenges that she did. So I think it more than justifies its reason for being, and doesn't way goes beyond just, it's not a rehashing of the first one. It gives the characters new stuff to do, and yeah, I just think you're wrong on that.
All right, and to your final point, Nate. Unless you want to,
well,
can rebut that shortly.
There's my final point. There will be no counter argument to it, so I'm just gonna probably put the final nail in the coffin here. Steve may not want to mount any kind of defense after I do this. This is just simply true. I'm just gonna, now this isn't subjective. There's no subjectivity to this. This is an objective truth. Shrek has one of the greatest character introductions of any film, supplemented by one of the great needle drops in cinematic history. The opening of the outhouse door, cued with "Somebody Once Told Me." It's honestly, so that song, of course, was not written for the movie. It is one of the best usages of a popular song that was not explicitly written for a film ever in the history of film. Shrek 2 has some good songs. It has the "Accidentally in Love." It has a good soundtrack. There is nothing in Shrek 2 that is nearly as iconic as the introduction of the character Shrek and that whole opening montage. It's basically like the credits. Like, you see the actors, the voice actors and stuff, him smiling in the mirror and the mirror cracks, all the things of him taking the little mud shower, and all of it to All Star by Smash Mouth. It is one of the most, the combination of that song with that character, I've never seen, or it's rare that I see a popular song that's not written for a film, a popular song that lifts up and propels the narrative in such a way as it does at the very beginning of Shrek. It is one of the all-time great character introductions, one of the all-time great needle drops. There is nothing in Shrek 2. There is no moment in Shrek 2 that comes even close to this.
Martin Scorsese, eat your heart out, is what Nate says. Steve, do you?
It's Scorsese-esque. It's Scorsese-esque. I'll say it. I hope he's listening. I hope he hears it. Okay,
Marty.
I hope he hears it.
If you want to talk about the Shrek, you want to argue this, the Shrek needle drop, please come on the show. We'll gladly have you.
Martin Scorsese, if you happen to be listening, we have a whole season dedicated to you. So maybe go to a different season and not listen to this episode. But I respect it regardless.
Skip the last episode of that season.
I'll reach out to his publicist.
Well,
Steve, a retort to the All-Star point.
So I will grant you that All-Star has become associated with the song, and it's great the way that they introduce the character and everything, and the franchise really. But I think there's an even better song sequence in Shrek 2. So I think, again, you're just wrong. Now, a lot of this is subjective. All of this is subjective, obviously. But while that sequence you're talking about does set up the character, there is a sequence. I'm just going to launch into my argument, if that's okay, if that pleased the court, because that was my first point. Is my
So we've got a rebuttal going. We've got a rebuttal leading into point one.
Sure.
I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
There's a 4-minute sequence in Shrek 2 that embodies everything that make these movies fun and awesome. And it's the I Need a Hero montage towards the end of Shrek 2. I Need a Hero, and then parentheses, Mongo's version, or commas, or no, what do you call them? Parentheses, yeah. Mongo's version. Mongo is the giant version of Gingerbread Man. And Jennifer Saunders, who plays the fairy godmother, launches into the I Need a Hero song. And for 4 minutes straight, we get action, we get comedy, we get drama, we get tragedy, all wrapped up in this fun package. And we get to see all of our favorite characters get to take a part. We get to see Puss in Boots shine, which I'll come back to him. We get to see Gingy and his giant alter ego Mongo get to shine. We get to see Shrek get to shine as the essentially the Prince Charming, the true Prince Charming. He breaks in and he goes and he saves Fiona, all set to this, as the kids would say, this banging song. And the beat is perfect. It's synced up perfectly with the action. Like I said, it's got highs, it's got lows. Mongo, as he sinks to the bottom of the moat, says, "Be good," to poor Gingy. You know, where else are you going to get that kind of tragedy, drama, action, all wrapped up in one awesome little music video, basically? So that sequence, I think, and I don't want to tear down your all-star sequence because it's fantastic, but the I Need a Hero Mongo's version is the best part of Shrek 2, and I think it's a better musical number than the first one, but it alone is the reason why you should pick Shrek 2. It's delightful. I could watch that sequence over and over again.
Go on the street, just walk on the street, and just say to people, bring up I Need a Hero, and say, what do you associate it with? No one's going to say Shrek 2.
That's not the argument.
Very few people are going to say Shrek 2.
You're trying to, again, frame this as an iconic moment versus what's better.
Go up to anyone on the street and say, what do you associate All Star by Smash Mouth with? Probably half the respondents are going to say the Shrek. So
and
it's interesting that you're saying it's better, and yet it's had no impact on popular culture or the popular zeitgeist, whereas All Star is immediately and intrinsically associated with this film. I mean,
which does not have anything to do with
All Star. It's just it's a better usage
Skibbity
of the
Toilet
song.
has had a impact on popular culture, and yet it's trash. It's a thing that doesn't make any sense.
Order in
You're
the court.
saying, so you're saying All Star by Smash Mouth is trash? That the sequence is trash? Is that what you're saying?
Your Honor, we don't have to engage in this bad faith.
Order, please. Stricken
every goddamn week.
Stricken from the record. All references to Skibbity Toilet will be disregarded by the jury, please.
I will. In all seriousness, I will say it is a very good sequence in Shrek 2. It is a very funny sequence. And I think it works well. I think the needle drop of All Star by Smash Mouth is a little more iconic in the first film, but I digress, and I will give Steve that point.
You know what? I'll admit that it's iconic, but that's not what we're arguing. For the third week in a row, I find myself somehow trying to be the voice of reason, a lone light in the darkness. That the whole fucking point of this podcast is which movie is better, not which movie is more iconic. And for 2 weeks in a row, the public has spoken and sided with me. And yet you fools, and I'll call you fools even before you've ruled, because I feel that strongly about it.
All right, counselor, to your second point.
The people are with me.
I would just like to say, Judge, that I think your judgments have been fantastic. And I have no issue at all with how you've been judging. And I think you've kept remarkable order over the proceedings despite the ramblings of really kind of a bitter, regretful person. So thank you, and I appreciate it.
Flattery will get you somewhere sometimes. We'll see.
Point number 2. The supporting cast, specifically in the form of Puss in Boots in Shrek 2, is better than Shrek 1. Donkey was in both. He's also in Shrek 2, of course. But then we get this new character, Antonio Banderas, just basically playing Zorro as a house cat. And I don't really feel like you got to say much more than that. I mean, that's the pitch. I'm sure that's how they got him to play it, too. They're like, Antonio, would you like to be a house cat? He's like, well, yes, I would. And, you know, part of this is I'm biased. I like
His agent
cats.
is also Spanish, for those that don't know. That's why both those voices were Spanish.
Presumably.
Just to be clear, the two Spanish speakers speak in English in a Spanish accent when they're talking to each other, apparently.
about a Spanish character.
It makes sense. But Puss in Boots is fantastic. He adds another level of humor to the proceedings, and he really gets to shine. He's so popular, as you pointed out, he gets spun off into his own series of 2 movies and super deep Lord of the Rings type lore, I guess. I don't know. But in this movie, he's introduced and he's just fantastic. And you want to talk about iconic? We want to go iconic. The Puss in Boots looking up with his eyes, doing the big old cat eyes. That's an iconic shot from the Shrek franchise. So, Puss in Boots is point number 2. He's not in the first one. He's in the second one. He's awesome.
I will concede the point
Your rebuttal?
on. I will concede. Puss in Boots is a great character who is not included in the first film. So, you know, I can't really do anything about that. I will allow Steve to proceed to his third point.
The third point.
Proceed.
I've struggled. Thank you, Your Honor. I didn't mean to call you a fool earlier. That was the heat of the argument. The third point is I struggled with how to name this. I'm just going to call it references, cultural references. The first one very much, and again, I don't want to belittle it. I love the first one. I love both of these movies. But the first one is very much, what if fairy tales were real? And the second one is almost what if fairy tales were real? And also, what if they had this essentially culture and society that was similar to ours? So, for example, there's all kinds of my favorite example of this is when Shrek is arrested in the second one. And it's an old timey fairy tale world. They don't have pepper spray, but they do have a pepper grinder, and they grind it right into his eyeballs. That's one of them. When they first arrive to the town where her parents live, the king and the queen. There's all kinds of. It basically looks like Beverly Hills, but fairy tale. There's a whole bunch of references like that and things that are kind of like modern. I mentioned the arrest scene. It's like a cops episode. It plays out like a 1990s cops episode. And I just love all that stuff. Then there's references to just other pop culture things, which I could see some people saying it's too on the nose, which I think as much as Nate likes to say the truth in this season, I feel like I say on the nose a lot, but I don't think these references are too on the nose. For example, the Puss in Boots does like a Mission Impossible drop from the ceiling at one point. It's very much reminiscent of that. Puss in Boots gets a lot of these. He also does a scene where he snatches his hat as the door closes and almost takes him out like Indiana Jones. It's just stuff like this all over the place. Mongo. We're back to Mongo. I love Mongo. He does the Godzilla Skreonk when he first approaches the gates. There's just lots of little drops like this that both, again, the kind of modern / old-timey references and then just pure pop culture references. They're littered throughout the second one. And I don't think they did that to the same extent in the first one. So it's a preference thing, but I love how they did it. There was lots of me being the meme of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing from was it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? So that's the third point. References.
If you
Rebuttal.
Yeah, if you look at I mean, what is the big I mean, there have been thousands upon thousands of words written about this now. If you look at one of the biggest problems with film today is instead of new and original ideas, instead of doing that, let's regurgitate things for solely for nostalgia to get people into theaters. I don't disagree that it's effective in Shrek 2, but if I'm a filmmaker and I don't have as strong of a story as the first film, what am I going to do? How about I just pull a bunch of visual gags and references from other better films? That to me is not an argument that Shrek 2 is better. That to me is in some ways is an argument that Shrek 2 knows that it's just being made for monetary purposes. The story is not as strong, and so we have to pull out these gags and references from popular culture so that people can have their fun little nostalgia moment. That's the problem with all movies today. I mean, this has been written about extensively. We've criticized it on this very show. There's nothing original anymore. Pop culture right now feels so dead because everything is just this regurgitated moment after moment of, how do we just, you know, how do we make the audience feel like they're 8 years old again? That's why we got 15 Jurassic Park movies. Why do we keep going back to the dinosaur island? Okay? This is what Shrek 2 is. And again, I enjoy it.
I'm gonna call for order. Don't you dare get me going on Jurassic Park, Nate.
Yeah, it's okay. But it's anything.
I'm just kidding.
It's all these legacy sequels. It's bad stuff like Top Gun Maverick, which we've discussed on the show. I mean,
Objection.
There's no. That was
Consider yourself warned, counselor. Cheap shot.
That was
Keep 'em
that
up.
was a personal
Keep
dig.
'em up.
That was a personal dig. Keep them above the belt. I just think that to say for the final point that he's making, to say, here's why my movie is good, is because it references other movies. That's just Your Honor, that sounds like a very weak argument. That sounds like the argument of someone who knows that the story of the movie that they're defending is not as strong. I mean, it's bold, and I commend my colleague and my cousin for giving it a try. But I just think that in any other way, you know why mine's better? Because it does it's like you know why Scary Movie is better than The Matrix, because they also do a funny bullet time sequence where they just make fun of The Matrix. Like it's just to say that it regurgitates this thing so it's somehow better than I don't know. I think it's a bold argument to make. I disagree with it. If that's what he wants to be his final point, that Shrek 2 does a better job of referencing other things in pop culture, okay. So be
You
it.
know what?
I'll let the judge decide.
You know what I love about the way he argues in rebuttal? He you can feel the straw man being built bale by bale. It just grows in the telling, like The Hobbit. At no point did I say that this movie is just regurgitating other things. At no point did I say that this movie's story wasn't as good as the first one. The point is, and actually directly to your point, this whole movie is a children's movie designed to be enjoyed by adults, and it was released 25 years ago almost. So to say that it's just a part of this schlocky homage machine that has been Hollywood of the last 20 years, that's just disingenuous. This movie, it adds these cultural references, not just movie references, by the way, but cultural references, just as a sprinkling, a nod to keep people engaged and to make people laugh. That's the whole point of this movie. It's not a scary movie satire. It's a genuinely delightful film with its own great plot, great characters, of whom I already mentioned, great action sequences, of which I already described, and the references are the cream on top, the finishing touch.
All right, and with that, we'll go right into closing arguments. Nate, you first movie, you'll go first.
a word that I will also be accused of using too much this season, and Steve can, but my fellow colleague, the other counselor in this case, can say all he wants that iconography doesn't matter when it comes to the history of film and determining what's better. It just does. It just does. He can deny that all he wants, but the reason that movies and scenes and moments and things in movies become iconic is because they're great. And the reason other things, scenes and movies and moments don't become iconic is because most of the time they're just not as good. That is just the reality of the way the world works. It's the way iconography works, it's the way the zeitgeist works, it's the way we feel and we move within culture. That's just the way it works. Okay? Lots of other people painted portraits during the Renaissance era. We know the Mona Lisa because it's iconic, and because Leonardo da Vinci painted something that was iconic. And we don't get to now sit around and walk around the Louvre and walk around these museums and go, actually, this one's better. No, you can't say the Mona Lisa is iconic. We're here to argue which one is actually better. It just doesn't make any sense. Iconography does matter. The first Shrek is more iconic. The single moment in Shrek where he snaps the outhouse door open on the somebody, that moment, that 5-second moment, is more iconic and more recognizable than anything in Shrek 2. And the reason that I know that is because that is an original moment created by the filmmakers, as opposed to, again, your final most important point. The best thing about Shrek 2 is that it references other things. Because in family entertainment, what the kids love to see is a reference to cops. I mean, it just, there's one thing that is iconic. That one moment, I will hold it up against any other moment in Shrek 2. I think Shrek 2 is great. I enjoy it myself. Iconography matters. And Shrek is just simply a more iconic movie with a better story. And again, you never directly said the word, Steve, that Shrek 1 has a better story than Shrek 2, but you're admitting that. You're admitting that by saying, you know what's the best thing? The very best thing about Shrek 2, it's that it references all these other things. Again, I think it's a bold argument to make. I'm going to let the judge decide, but I think Jeff is a bright guy and he understands the iconography as well, and I think when it's all said and done, he's going to side with me. Thank you, Your Honor.
Steve, your final thoughts?
Well, I don't want to drag myself too far down in rebutting his specious arguments, but I will point out two things. One, he keeps saying the best argument for Shrek 2. No, it's just the third point. Recency bias does not mean that it's the best argument. The best argument is summed up in my first point, which is there's a 4-minute sequence that is probably the best thing in either of these two movies, that has everything you want in one of these movies. And it's a microcosm of the movie's franchise itself. Action, tragedy, comedy, drama, great characters, great music, fascinating animation. That's we need holding out for a hero montage. But I do want to come back to one thing he's saying. Even he doesn't believe in this iconography bullshit argument. You know why? You know how I know this? Because last week, when I presented the same argument for Return of the Jedi and listed numerous iconic moments, numerous iconic lines.
Strikes Back. Point of order.
What did I say? Oh yeah, Empire Strikes Back.
You said Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Your Honor, he doesn't even know what movie he defended. He doesn't even know what movie he defended.
I listed numerous iconic moments and even argued that it had more of them. And he still was like, oh, I don't know. I think the other one. So even he doesn't believe it. Even deep in his heart of hearts, despite his towering straw man argument that he's built out of this, he doesn't even, there's no frame there. There's nothing holding up this straw man. It's just pure bullshit, Your Honor. So, Shrek 2 should win because it has one of the best scenes, the best scene. It's got better side characters. Puss in Boots is emblematic of that. And yeah, it's got a lot of fun cultural and movie references that make everybody laugh, not just the kids. It's a great time at the movies, and it builds on and does everything that Shrek 1 does, including have a great story, better.
All right. Well, the time has come to make a decision. Both arguments on both sides here. Both two very good movies. This is a tough choice. I do, like Nate, like you said, I like them both, and there are some really good, like when they first go to in the first movie to Duloc, and they have the little like puppet show sing along thing is just hilarious. And Farquaad is a fantastic villain. Like when he rolls up the first time on the horse and they take him out and he's got the fake legs because he's so short. Just stuff like that is really funny, really well done. And then the second one, Steve, the I Need a Hero sequence is fantastic. Accidentally in Love opening, as this is a pure song for Accidentally in Love to All Star. I would agree that the opening is a bit more iconic in the first one, the way it all fits together. So just thinking about this decision, the arguments you made, and I keep getting stuck on the argument, that Nate made of the movie justifying its existence. We've seen a lot of times, we've seen in history a lot of sequels that are essentially just rehash the first movie, and therefore, maybe they do something. We've even had a couple this season that you could argue are more or less just rehash first movie. They still do it effectively and they do it well. But did they get more points? Did they get less points? Whatever. But to me, I look at Shrek 2 and I think that they could have done that, and they didn't. They went a little bit further. They fleshed out the world a little bit more. They added new interesting characters. They did all that. And so when looking at that, yeah, I do think that the sequel, I agree that the sequel just was made probably to make more money. But at the same time, they could have easily just cashed in and essentially tried to just rehash the whole thing. And they took it a little bit further. They essentially, they even kind of get into like, guess who's coming to dinner territory, with some of the way they set it all up. And trying to balance that with a lot of the iconography of the first one and how great Farquaad is as a villain. So when I break it down and really think about it, I give my vote to Shrek 2 as the winner. I think
An excellent choice. An
Puss
excellent
in
choice.
Boots is a fantastic character. I think the fact that they went, again, they didn't phone it in the sequel. They brought in new themes, they brought in new ideas, new characters, and they did go a little heavy on the references, but I don't know that was necessarily to its detriment. It was just, and they went bigger and bolder, but not for the sake of going bigger and bolder. It sort of made sense in the storyline. And so, I think if I come down to it, I think there's might be a couple scenes that are more iconic first movie, but I think the second movie overall just has so much that is that's just so enjoyable, and that's what really sort of propelled the franchise forward. There it is.
I'll respect the judgment, even though I disagree with it, and I think it sets a very dangerous precedent. I mean, I think it's a really, really dangerous precedent to say that it's okay to you literally reference the name of another movie. You say, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" To to pull out these things in the first film that are original, and then to say, "But the second one's better." And let me give you some
Based on
examples.
fairy
Here's another.
Can we?
Here's another movie it references.
But
It just. I think it's a dangerous precedent.
It's interesting though when you talk about originality with the first one and the All-Star thing, when Shrek wasn't even the only or movie to use All-Star as a needle drop.
Oh, I
Mystery
know where
Men
you're
did
going.
it,
Yeah.
and
The forgotten
maybe it
superhero
wasn't
collab.
quite as iconic, but if you want to talk about originality, you can't ignore that.
Well,
I would just
again,
like
You
Connor,
thought we forgot about Mystery Man, didn't you, Nate? Didn't you? I forgot about it.
again, I'm going to respect the judgment. Unlike some people, I'm not going to be a whiny bitch about it for a whole week and message people
You know
about
what?
it.
As someone once
Uh,
said, that sounds like the thoughts of a bitter person.
A bitter, resentful person. Would you like to know what the public thinks?
Please.
I'm very curious about this one because I honestly
Well,
don't
we
know.
have. I tell you what, we have some interesting results.
All the others, I feel like I've had a pretty good read on where the public would go, but this one, I honestly don't know. As you
On
made
TikTok,
points, go ahead.
On TikTok, by one vote, Shrek 2. By
Oh.
one vote. Now, I posted these kind of
Essentially-
late. There's only 34 votes, but it's still, I feel like that's a decent sample size. Now on the Insta, hang on, let me go over to it. See if it lets me. Insta is much more firmly in the original. 64%.
Oh wow.
Hold on. Yeah, 64 to 36% for the original. Not as many votes on that though. Only 21 votes on that. So, I mean, honestly, that's about dead even. We did not get as big of a sample size, and it seems like our audience is pretty split. So even though Instagram is citing a little more firmly on my side, I'm willing to call that a little bit of a draw with the audience. Just because I'm not sure we got as big of a sample size as we typically get for this. But it's there. I think a lot of passionate opinions about this.
Yeah,
And it was not a clear cut victory. You know, it was just that's where I ended up siding on. These are two good movies.
The intensity of my argument and my passion notwithstanding, these are very close. And I honestly, like, if you truly put a gun to my head, I don't know which one I'd pick to be my favorite. I mean, obviously we have to argue what we argue, but they're both so good.
I like them both equally, honestly. It's honestly kind of why I thought that it would be a good one for this show, just because they're pretty equal. Now to our question, our weekly question of is this the greatest sequel of all time? I think we're all, unless I'm reading the room incorrectly, I mean, I think pretty firmly no. Shrek 2 is not Terminator 2 or Godfather 2.
Shrek 3 maybe, but no.
But I do like, I will say honestly, of the ones we've done, I have to think back through. These are about the two most even movies between the original and sequel. I don't know of another pairing that I like more equally than these
Even
two.
Godfather?
Well, I'm a part 2 guy.
But is it
Godfather kind of is
the discrepancy that big?
Despite the fact that I did have to choose, it was normally I would just not choose. I would just say they're both pretty much the same in terms of how much I like them.
Here's the thing with The Godfather. I think that let me rephrase it a little bit. Shrek and Shrek 2 are the most even in how similar the movies really are. Godfather and Godfather 2 I like probably equally, but for very different reasons. Those are very different movies that push very different themes and have very different kinds of performances.
Yeah.
And so I don't think of them. Obviously, they're one big story, but I don't compare them in the way that I would something like Shrek or Shrek 2. God, what a sentence! I don't compare Godfather in the way that I do the Shrek franchise, just because these first two movies kind of they really blend together. I will say the thing for me that I think put Shrek 2 over Shrek 1 if I were going to pick is Puss in Boots. That's a great character.
It's pretty awesome.
Probably
that's ultimately what gave me the.
They spin it off like to have such a defining supporting character that he can hold up movies of his own, even though I haven't seen them. That's pretty telling. And so his absence, I think, is felt a little bit if you're watching the first one.
Overall, I am just thrilled that we watched these movies for this season. It came at a particularly difficult time in my my personal and professional life, and so these were a nice kind of palate cleanser. They were.
It was a nice reprieve. Yeah. It was a nice little holiday. We're recording this the week of Thanksgiving, and it was a nice little holiday reprieve for us to kind of just have something fun for the whole family.
Delightful. They're just delightful.
Delightful. That's when you said that. I was hanging out with you, and you were like, "They're both just delightful." They're what delightful films.
They are. And as we close the book, close the chapter on this week, and talk about next week, we'll have another sort of fun little jaunt for our next episode, which will involve Home Alone and Home Alone. So very Christmassy season, very apropos when that episode will be released. So with that, we'll end this episode with Shrek 2 being the victor, and just a recap there. The original has now won 5 of the 7 weeks, and the sequel has won 2 of the 7 weeks as we hit the midway point in the season. So sequels to win, it's got a little bit of a hill to climb, but we've got some interesting matchups here, starting with next week at Home Alone 2. So again, don't forget to follow us on the socials, Duel of the Greats, or at Duel of the Greats, pretty much everywhere except for TikTok, which we are at Duel Podcast. You want to find me, I am at the Jeff Report. Nate is Skate Carter. If you want to follow us on the socials, please do. And if you want to email us anything, any ideas, any questions, any thoughts, duelofthegreats@gmail.com. So we'll look forward to hearing from you, and we'll look forward to seeing you. You can hear from us again next week as we take on Home Alone and Home Alone 2. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.